Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. It has been a long time since I've done one of these, and I'm hoping to sort of get back into it. I took almost a year break, just been busy, adulting, life, what have you, work. Also been getting back into playing some games on my PS5 and Xbox Series X, and that's taken, of course, a little bit of time away from this. I only have so much time, and I do most of that in the evening after my kids are asleep, and that's only a couple hours, and so it's hard to sort of indulge in some other hobbies while making these reviews. But this is still my first love. This is what I started my channel with, and so I wanted to get back to that. I know there's those of you who are different fans of different things. I got Predator pieces, I got Marvel statues, customs, and all of that. So I think there'll be some pretty cool stuff that'll be being put up on my channel or uploaded to my channel in the next weeks and months. So hopefully that will be worth the wait. I had some thoughts about where to start. A lot of it actually has to do with where I'm gonna put the pieces, where I want to move them, and that kind of determines what happens, because once I do a video review, I can then get them off of my kitchen counter table and to their hopefully semi-permanent resting spot. And so part of that kind of determines what I want to do. And so for this one, I wanted to start with a truly magnificent piece. For those of you who collect other things, you may not care as much, but this is the Walt Disney Classics Collection Signature Series. It's Down the Rabbit Hole from, of course, Walt Disney's Alice in Wonderland. It's Alice and Dinah. I think it's Dinah. I believe Dinah refers to the cat. And this is sculpted by the legendary Dusty Horner, who has done a lot of just, of course, legendary Walt Disney Classics Collection pieces. And this is a signature series. It is number 418 out of only 500 made, which, for those of you used to collecting like say Marvel statues, 500 seems like quite a bit. We're used to limited editions of maybe 30, 40, 50 pieces for some of those custom pieces. But understand that this is a Disney collectible. And so there are countless, hundreds of millions of Disney fans out in the world. The fan base for Disney dwarfs that of, a lot of other properties. So only making 500 of these pieces is very, very limited, and that's reflected both in its rarity and its price point in the secondary market. So this is the certificate of authenticity from the Signature Series. And now, without further ado, I'm going to put this aside, and we're going to take a look at what this piece is like. So here it is. Now, I made a couple of videos on the WDCC, or the Walt Disney Classics Collection pieces, in the past. There's a surprisingly few number of these videos on YouTube. There's a couple. I mean, YouTube, of course, is a worldwide platform, but there just isn't a lot of channels devoted to this. There's not a lot of YouTube videos. I often wonder why. Again, going back to all those Disney fans that are out there, and the Disney Classics Collection did sell quite well for many, many years, over a decade before the line was finally discontinued. If you want to, you can check some of my older videos. You just have to search for my name on WDCC. It should turn up. And that will give you a bit of a primer. But in short, these are amazing sculptural representations from the movie, from the Disney animated films. And it's all done in porcelain, in fine porcelain. And they're all just extremely special in their own right. But the Signature Series is supposed to represent sort of the ultimate cream of the crop of these lines. There's 9 of them total. And this one is number 8, I believe, out of that series of 9. and it's from Alice in Wonderland. So what are the highlights? What are the sort of the basic facts? Limited edition of 500. Its core is porcelain, but it is plussed. Plussed is a term which means that, you know, there's additions. It's plussed with pewter and resin components. I don't know which parts are which, and it has 84 separate components. So one of the things about porcelain pieces that's pretty amazing is there's nothing like resin. And so it's a lot more fine art, a lot more difficult to paint. You have to, you know, mold each of these in porcelain. You have to hand paint, and it has to be fired in a kiln. And that gives the paint its sort of maturity, its glaze, so to speak. And then you have to individually put them together. It's a tremendous amount of labor. And so they don't really make porcelain pieces of this magnitude anymore. It's been, I think, over 10 years, maybe longer, since the last Walt Disney Classics Collection piece was made and the line retired. And these pieces have been around for, some of the oldest Walt Disney Classics Collection pieces have been around for over 30 years. This one itself is at least 15 plus years old, in my opinion, maybe older than that. And with only 500 of them, they're very, very, very rare. Its original price was $999, so about $1,000. And in terms of how much this goes for on the secondary market, well, I mean, essentially the sky is really the limit, especially when you consider the international market. These go for thousands of dollars. It could be as high as $3,000, $4,000. You know, there just really isn't a necessary ceiling because they're so rare. They hardly ever come up for sale. And again, you know, it's just whatever anyone is willing to pay for it. But there's no number that would really surprise me when it comes to a signature series piece, and especially Alice, which has its share of very devoted fans. So much for that. You can see that it's very, very delicate. So what's the idea behind the piece? Well, you know, it's down the rabbit hole. If you watch the movie, it shows her tumbling down the hole. You can see her cat, Dinah, looking on, wondering, you know, what in the world Alice is doing. And so it's kind of a very unique art design where they're trying to show in porcelain form, in 3D sculptural form, almost like an animation, a series of animation stills. So you see this with, you know, cells, for instance, where they try to draw the characters in different movements. But here they're doing it in sculptural form. And so you start with her tumbling down, and then she progressively gets bigger in the middle one, and then largest of all when she finally lands. So when I back up, you can kind of get this feeling, you know, as you can kind of appreciate, hopefully, the size as she falls from the top and then finally lands, that she does get a little bit bigger. So you have actually 3 versions of Alice. I'm going to do a little close-up of her face. It's all porcelain, beautifully sculpted, beautifully painted. So here she is here looking at this upside-down portrait of her. This is also individually painted. It's remarkable. And then, of course, all the way down as she examining her surroundings. And everything here is topsy-turvy, as befits the world of Alice in Wonderland, the madness of it all. Here's a nice little portrait back here. And then these are some of the individual elements we're talking about. They all have to be individually molded, casted in porcelain, and then of course painted, glazed, fired in the kiln. So there's all of that. You can see all of the detail of this rabbit hole all the way to the bottom. So if you want to do a Google search, not very much comes up, again, because it's so rare. You're going to essentially see this picture right here, which is the whole thing. But you very rarely see all the other parts, in detail. You can see here, there's another little element right over here. I think that's what is a little, I guess, hook from which the teapot is hanging. You can see the magnificent detail with the rivets, even all the way here. You can see the texturing. And again, this is all porcelain, which is just remarkable. Here you can see again, the wood textures, the roots coming out all the way in the back. This is the deeper earth, the stone of the deeper earth. And then at the very top, of course, is the hillside. And there again is the cat, Dinah looking down, the shrubbery, the flowers, all beautifully sculpted. Some of the mushrooms. I'm gonna take a look here. So there's a lot of texture, and you're going from the hill with the mushrooms, the flowers, the grass, then to sort of the wood, the dirt, and then down to the stone. So this is the outside. And then of course inside you have all of this beautiful detail of both Alice herself in triplicate, as well as these lamps, the portraits, all these further little bits of detail that's kind of, hard to see. I'm going to make another video with the flash on. Again, normally I don't really like to do that because it kills a lot of the texturing of the paintings, of the paint, but I'm going to do that again to splice it together so you can actually also appreciate some of the detail with a better lighting. So there you go here. So very, very true to the animated movie, which is sort of the point of the collection. And I especially like this shot where you can kind of see the face of the cat overlooking Alice herself. So sort of one of my favorite shots here. We can kind of see that. So again, a remarkable piece and very, very rare. I don't think there's any YouTube videos of this at all, actually, at all. So I'm sort of happy to put it out there so people, again, who aren't going to be able to obviously own this can actually see for themselves how beautiful it is. And I'm not really even an Alice fan, but this is considered one of the holy grails of the entire Walt Disney Classics collection line. For those in the know, it is absolutely one of the holy grails of an Alice in Wonderland collection. For whatever reason, Alice is really popular. I mean, she's not considered a major Disney princess. The original animated picture was not particularly successful, but she definitely has a very huge sort of loyal following, who collect her. One of the Disney limited edition dolls, also coincidentally released in a limited edition of only 500, much like this piece, also goes for anywhere from $3,000–4,000. I'll do a review of her at a later time, but I haven't done a review of the, I don't think of a limited edition doll for my channel yet, but she's considered the holy grail of the Disney limited edition doll line, and she's amazing as well. So definitely Alice as a collectible, she spawns a lot of very, very sought after collectibles, and for good reason. So just imagine all these different elements, the flower petals, the cat, all the different elements on the interior, from the pictures to, the lamp, the vase or vase, all the different plates, all these things, this little, I don't even know what you call this thing, like a little upside down chandelier. All these things are individually put together, the curtains at the bottom. So all of these things are just sort of individually made, and then you have to put it together. So I'm gonna back up a little bit. So you kind of have this idea of what it looks like. By Disney Classics collection standards, this is an extremely tall piece. It's over 18 inches tall. I think you can tell by my hand in comparison just how big this is. So in the line, one of the great vertical pieces. You know, not a lot of the Walt Disney Classics collection have that verticality. A huge number of pieces maybe, you know, take up a lot of room horizontally. Obviously, Off to the Ball comes to mind immediately, as does the 9th and final piece of the signature series, which I'm going to review later on, which is Hi Ho. It's Off from Work We Go, from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So they stretch out horizontally, but this is one of those few pieces that has height, and for obvious reasons, because, you know, they want to show her falling down the rabbit hole, so to speak. Really not much more to say than this. I'm just going to continue to, I guess, lovingly show all of that beautiful detail. Look at all these little different flower petals. Just truly beautiful work. And all of it in porcelain. You can tell by just tapping it. Listen. Only porcelain sounds like that. That's the sound that your teapot makes, or your plate makes. And it's amazing that they're able to create something like this from the same thing that they make your cups and teapots from, and your, you know, plates from, right? Now, the one thing that's a little bit unfortunate is that this does come with the original box and certificate of authenticity, but the original owner, unfortunately, did not include the signature card. The reason these are called signature series is they're all supposed to have the signature of someone very closely associated with the piece. And so, for instance, Off to the Ball has a signature card of Eileen Woods, who's the voice of the original voice of Cinderella, and Catherine Beaumont, I believe, the voice of Alice, was supposed to have signed a card, but in this case, that card was not available, which is a bit of a bummer. But again, with a collection number of only 500, I feel fortunate even just owning something like this. But that is a little quibble in terms of, you know, being complete. But it does have the original box, the original packaging, and all of that. And it has the certificate of authenticity, but it does not have the signature card itself. Alice in Wonderland, Down the Rabbit Hole, sculpted by Dusty Horner. After the break, I'm going to showcase this with the flash on. Hopefully you can show a bit more detail, but this is kind of the preferred way. Black backdrop, natural lighting from overhead. That kind of gives you the best idea of what this looks like. And obviously, as with everything else, even video, high definition video doesn't do the piece justice. Your eyes are still the best thing. It looks absolutely stunning in person. The vibrant paint, the movement of Alice, the different poses. This one especially is so amazing. Her free falling, the way they sculpted her in free falling, you almost feel the wind as it lifts her dress up with her hands outstretched, her hair flowing. And then here she kind of slowly settles down and floats down. What a beautiful piece. All right, I'll see you after the break. Hey everybody, so this is with flash on. Again, it really washes out a lot of the detail, but it washes out the detail of the paint, but the advantage is you can kind of see every little detail of the sculpt now that was previously hidden. So that's pretty cool. Here's the cat in the background. Here's Alice right here. You can kind of focus again on the beautiful sculpture in the paint apps. Here's the picture upside down. Here she is looking at it. Moving down, look at all the different colors, the flowers. A little picture of flowers in the background. You can see the purple, some of the pottery. And there you go. Way more detail here. You can actually see the fireplace, all the different elements that go into that. Here's the final version of Alice right before she touches down. Here's the very bottom of the base. You can actually see now the bottom of the rabbit hole. Here's another little painting with the word CC there, I believe. Or are those just eyes? I think that might be eyes, actually. Yeah. Or they might be initials, hard to say. I'll leave that to you. I think it is CC, actually. Never mind, they're not eyes, they're just CC. Don't quite know what significance that is. There's the teapot hanging from the hook. And you can, of course, see the hook in the back right here. Here's some of that beautiful texturing, again, with the flash on, so you can see all of that. And then moving up to the texturing of the wood. And then the top of the hill. Look at the mushrooms. Again, this is maybe 15, 20 years old. And then the little mass of flowers, the white petals. Beautifully done. And then backing out, so you can see the whole thing again. I'm going to turn her slowly. So there you go. Hopefully this video highlights the sculpture, the paint, gives you a little bit of information about her. And, you know, for those of you who don't own it, you'll be able to appreciate, again, the beauty of this piece. This is my return to statue reviews after almost a year. I think she's a worthy piece to mark that occasion. I'll have another amazing collectible next of a very, very different type. But until then, I hope you enjoy this review and do take care.